guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Got the week 8 core plays here for you, but as always I do like to do that quick recap of the previous week, so let's get into it. So Sunday there's a lot of news, a lot of slate breaking news that really changed the slate. So Aaron Jones was ruled out, Joe Mixon was out, which really meant that you're going to be on Jamal Williams and Giovanni Bernard pretty much as your go-to value plays at running back, especially with the fact that we didn't know if Justin Jackson was going to go. It kind of just meant that you're defaulting to Jamal Williams because he's the cheapest and the best matchup that you can imagine. So you just kind of had to be on him. And then Joe Mixon, at his price point, was very favorable as well. The news broke that Noah Fant was active and Johnny Smith were active. That kind of took us out of the value plays at the tight end spot that we thought we were going to be on. Instead, we ended up going with Harrison Bryant as kind of like the punt value play at tight end. Obviously, he went off. The other tight end that we were on that you'll see was actually Hunter Henry here. And Hunter Henry, it sucked because Hunter Henry could have had a big week. All the touchdowns went to two other tight ends, so that's kind of unfortunate there. Don't think that was the wrong play. It's just correct process, just didn't work out that week. And I do want to point out Marquez Callaway real quick there. So Callaway looked really good on film the previous week, and they looked really good on film last week. He did come down with the injury at the end of the game last week, but he says he's going to be good to go. He looked great. They targeted him early and often. If you haven't, you should probably pick him up in your season-long leagues as well, because if he's healthy and if MT and Sanders are going to be out more, he's going to be relevant. Maybe for a week or two. We don't really know what's going on with MT, so it's a weird situation there. As you guys can see, was on Kyler Murray. He was the one that I wanted everyone to pay up for if they can. You really had to pay up for Kyler Murray. He was a great starting point. Although if you didn't, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, and Kyle Allen, they all had value. They all played well. Was fine there. Alvin Kamara was pretty much the lock play. It just ended up being that way. Kareem Hunt, you could have been on. J.D. McKissick, I didn't really play at all because Jamal Williams and Giovanni Bernard value opened up there. And then receiver did really well. Again, Kenny Galladay, Edge Brown, Keenan Allen, Jameson Crowder. He was out, so I ended up being on Perryman and Barrios a little bit. They did fine. They did what you wanted them to do. Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd, and Perryman's there as well. So overall, the player pool last week was pretty spectacular. Was on Jets D too because they're the minimum price. You knew that they weren't going to go negative, so it's just tough to pass up on that for the Jets at that price point where you really can make any lineup path work. We'll say early slate and late slate were pretty easy to cash, and main slate was a little bit difficult, more or less because of how many great plays there were for everyone. It was a wide open slate, which meant it was going to be higher scoring, and when it's higher scoring, that brings in higher variance. Now, yes, it was easy to come up with a great lineup given the player pool that 9 of 5 gave you guys. And I think most people had a successful week last week, but there was a route where you might have put up 180 and not cash, which was unfortunate last week on the main slate, which is kind of why I was attacking it early and late slate, which is something I brought up on the Sunday live stream. So definitely check out the Sunday live stream if you guys haven't yet. Let's get into the core plays for this week. All right, guys, so get into the core plays for this week. At the quarterback spot, it's really limited this week, actually, where the last 2 weeks we were on like 5 or so quarterbacks that we really knew were going to do well. This week, I don't really think we have to push it too much. You got Aaron Rodgers going against the Minnesota Vikings. I think if there's going to be a quarterback that we want to pay up for, it is going to be him. We've seen him absolutely dominate this year. He only had one bad game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we're seeing they're just a good defense. It took a little bit for them to kind of figure out the chemistry and flow. They got that down now. That Buccaneers defense is good, but every other matchup he's done really well and put up 33 DK points against the Vikings the first time out. You could easily see that happening again this week. Then after that, there's not much that I love. Honestly, I'm just going to go down and pay down for Jimmy G going against the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, they've been by far the worst team defensively, especially via the passing game. So just given the matchup here, I don't see how he doesn't hit value. He should easily get to at least 20 DK points in this one. But let's say you're kind of worried about that. You can punt with Drew Lock this week as well. He threw the ball 40 times against the Chiefs last week. If he does that again in this matchup against the Chargers, he should easily be able to hit value. Now, he looked pretty bad as well. That's kind of the week that we have, where last week there were a ton of great plays across the board. This week we don't exactly have that. So moving on to running back here, it's very tough. So Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Aaron Jones are expected to be back, although we have to wait and see on that news. If they're both out, I do like Jamal Williams and Madison. Heck, I might be locking in Madison actually at that price point this week because his price is decreased this week, which is different from a couple weeks ago when he was really priced up, knowing that Dalvin Cook was going to be out. So if Cook is out, I actually don't mind Madison. But got Kareem Hunt and Jonathan Taylor all in great matchups. So Alvin Kamara, really no matter what, I like him at this price point. Now, if Michael Thomas is in, yeah, sure, it might hurt Kamara a little bit, but he is the offense right now. They're getting him the ball early and often. I just really like Kamara. He's not really juiced up that much. Derrick Henry going against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's pretty simple to know when to play Derrick Henry. It's all, do they have a bad run D? Play him. Do they have a good run D or above average run D? Don't play him. It's as simple as that, guys. Cincinnati Bengals have been getting gouged via the run game, so Derrick Henry, I don't mind. He is kind of priced up a little bit, though. You could go with Dalvin Cook against Green Bay Packers if he does play. He did go for 21.8 DK points. If he sits, though, Madison is going to be the go-to play there. Kareem Hunt going against the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, they've been horrible against opposing teams' running backs, and he's been a guy that's just been very consistent, minus that game against Pittsburgh where they're just attacking them. Well, it was just a bad game for the Browns, but you attack Pittsburgh via the passing game. So Kareem Hunt been very consistent. I think you just play him and lock in around 18 DK points, but given that matchup, I would expect him to score a little bit more. Then we got Jonathan Taylor with the Indianapolis Colts, who I think coming off of their bye, they're going to be like, all right, we watched the film. We realized that we need to get Jonathan Taylor the ball a little bit more. Only getting around 16 to 17 opportunities per game, that's not enough for Jonathan Taylor. You need to get him some more volume, and this is the easy matchup. I expect him to get used in the passing game, and in the running game, he's going to score a touchdown in this one against the Detroit Lions. Then after that, it's really figuring out kind of the rest of the injury news to come through. Chris Carson, is he going to play or is he going to be out? Jamal Williams, is he going to be the starter or is Aaron Jones going to play? Is Dalvin Cook going to play or is Alexander Madison going to be the starter? We kind of got to wait and see on that news. After that, are we going to go Jerick McKinnon? Or are we going to go JaMycal Hasty, who has just been popping on game film? That's what we're going to go with. The guy has been great on film. Now, yes, they might have been saving McKinnon, and we kind of got to read the tea leaves and see if that's the case. But if it's not, Hasty's going to be the go-to guy, and he has been impressive on film. He really does remind me of like a Devonta Freeman, Frank Gore type, where it's one cut and you're gone. Very impressive on film thus far, and if he's the RB1 in this offense, who's ever been the RB1 in this offense, and it's been pretty clear, it's been Mostert, it's been McKinnon, and it's been Jeff Wilson. Who's ever been the RB1 in this offense has been the RB1 in fantasy football this season. So really, JaMycal Hasty at this price point, $5K for potentially the best running back in fantasy football. I'm gobbling that up all day, baby. I will say Myles Gaskin at this price point, very cheap. He's been a guy that's been very consistent as well. 16.6, 20.1, 14.5, 9.2. The opportunities have been there for him. He's been getting around 20 opportunities per game. So to get 20 opportunities per game for Myles Gaskin at that price point, I do like him a good amount as well. Then there are a couple of other players I do want to highlight real quick. The main one is going to be Damian Harris. Michael P. Ryan saw around 70% of the snaps. Looked okay. Wasn't that great. Damian Harris, though. So I think the Patriots are going to go into film for, one, watching Harris. He played well last week. And then also watching the Bills. The way that you beat the Bills, I think now, is pretty easy, especially with how poor the Patriots are in the passing game. You're going to run it with Damian Harris. You're going to run it 20 times with him, and he's going to score a touchdown. That's the way I think the Bills or the Patriots will go about beating the Bills this week. If Carson is out, DJ Dallas at the min price. Carlos Hyde's out as well, it seems like. Travis Homer is going to be out as well, it seems like. We got to wait and see on the injury news. But if those three are all out, DJ Dallas in the best offense in the NFL, or one of the best offenses in the NFL, is actually going to be pretty interesting. You'd expect him to get at least 10 DK points, given kind of the usage that he would get. All right, moving on to receiver now. Davante Adams, the easiest lock maybe ever was last week with Aaron Jones out. You just knew that he was going to be targeted early and often, and you knew that he was going to have a great week in that matchup where the Houston Texans just aren't that good. But we saw Davante Adams in week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings also have a dominant game, scoring 44.6 DK points. That was absolutely insane, and honestly, he could do that again. They're still without Allen Lazard, which means you're just going to be force-feeding Davante Adams the ball when you're not giving Aaron Jones the ball. I think if Aaron Jones is out again this week, I'm just going to be locking in Davante Adams again. Even though he is priced up a little bit, that's just too tough to pass up on. It's too good of an opportunity to pass up on. Keenan Allen, I like a ton. Yes, the matchup's a little bit difficult against Denver there, but the dude has seen over 10 targets per game since Justin Herbert has taken over. Now, yes, he got injured against the Saints, but he was looking good. I mean, 2 targets, 2 receptions for a touchdown in that game. He would have easily dominated that game as well. And I think that's kind of why we're getting him at this really cheap price point. Sure, the matchup is tough, but if you're locking in 10 targets for Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert looking good, I mean, that's just too cheap to pass up on. It's just such a good play. Now, Brandon Ayuk. So my season-long league, I had Deebo Samuel. I've kind of been waiting for this matchup. I'm like, all right, this is it. He's going to go off, and he got injured. And now it seems like it's going to be Brandon Ayuk, who looked good last week. 7 targets, 100 yards. I think we could kind of project that again. If you're playing Jimmy G, you kind of just got to play Ayuk because they really like to get their weapons the ball quick and fast. And with Deebo Samuel up, Ayuk's going to step into that role. And he has looked pretty darn similar to Deebo Samuel. They're essentially the same player now. I think Deebo's slightly better at this point, but he's also 1 year more involved in the NFL. Ayuk's a good player. And yes, that's a little bit of a price boost, but I like him a ton this week. He should easily see around 7 targets, given that matchup, given how the San Francisco 49ers like to use their weapons. It's just going to be tough for me to pass up on Rashad Higgins. Looked better than OBJ really has the whole year. I mean, he looked good last week, and I think that was just more a case of situation being perfect, and he was producing. I don't think Rashad Higgins is ever going to play as good of a game as he did last week. Now, will Baker Mayfield do as good? It is a decent matchup for Baker. I think if you're playing Baker, you stack it with Rashad Higgins and kind of just go from there. We'll go a little bit lower here because we got the real play here is going to be Marquez Callaway once again. 10 targets, 6 the week before that. With Sanders and with MT out, he was kind of the clear-cut go-to number 1 in this offense. I mean, I guess besides Alvin Kamara, he was impressive for the second straight week as well. That's the main thing. This is why you watch film. And I'm not seeing many people talking about maybe it's because it's questionable, maybe because they know MT is right around the corner and Sanders is going to be back here as well. But it's going to be tough for them to go away from Callaway. But if those two are out, again, yes, the matchup is tough, but he should easily hit value at this price point. And then tight end. We got to wait and see on some injury news here as well. Kind of seems to be the theme recently. So let's say it kind of goes back to like the Buffalo Bills. How do you attack them with the inside route? I think that's going to be the same for the Cleveland Browns, where I said, Hunter Renfrow might be the play. Darren Waller is the play. We know that. They're going to target him early and often with those crossing routes. He's going to hit value this week. If you can afford to pay up for him, you definitely should go out and do that. It's pretty simple. Jonnu Smith had a disappointing week last week, but the matchup wasn't that great. He was coming off of an injury. He's kind of had 2 bad weeks in a row on paper, but we know that hasn't really been the case. Give him a good matchup. He should easily be able to exploit that, and he could easily go off for 20 DK points like he has done twice already this year. It's tough for me to not see Jonnu Smith hitting value this week. Then after that, we really just got to wait and see on the injury news. Is Austin Hooper going to play? If not, I actually don't mind Harrison Bryant. They have been targeting the tight end a decent amount, or Baker Mayfield has been looking to the tight end a little bit more as the season has went on. Austin Hooper had saw 4 straight weeks of 5 targets or more, and then we saw Harrison Bryant have 5 targets. Now, yes, he's not going to score 2 touchdowns again, most likely. Hopefully he does, but that's not going to happen. So I don't mind him at that price point. Still not a bad play. There are going to be some value tight ends that probably open up later on in the week, and we'll hit on those on Sunday's live stream, so definitely check that out. Defensively, there's nothing really to love so far. There's not going to be a min-price pump play that we can go with this week just yet. The Dolphins are a pretty good defense, though, and maybe we go with that, although I kind of think Sean McVay will be able to scheme his way to a good week there. Maybe we pay up for the Chiefs. We'll have to wait and see on that. Defense is always kind of, you got to wait and see what the injury news is. But that's all I have for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. If you guys are interested in joining 9 to 5 Nation, getting those elite plays, getting the NFL DFS information without the fluff, guys, we get straight to the point. We just give you the top picks. We don't need the projections. We don't need player A, player 2, player B. We don't need all those projections. I just give you the best plays each week to help you profit. It's as simple as that. Don't care about ownership. I care about profit. Like, that's pretty much it. Plays that are going to help you profit. It's as simple as that. Check out the 9 to 5 page. It's $10 a month. All right, thanks, guys.